Roughly 8 years ago, my marriage to my ex-wife Amara ended soon after our twins were born. Our relationship wasn't built to last. We'd only been together for about a year and a half before we learned about the pregnancy. The news threw us both for a loop, and like many, we figured staying together for the kids might be the right move. People often believe children can mend a shaky relationship. Truthfully, we weren't the most compatible duo. We had some joyful times, but the bond was never deep or enduring. When Amara got pregnant, I hoped we could make it work and create something stable. But honestly, we were like fire and ice. Still, for the twins' sake, we gave it a genuine shot. At first, things were okay. We had our fair share of arguments, like any couple, but nothing too dramatic. We managed to co-parent effectively, keeping things civil. Then Amara met someone new, someone she thought was her true partner. I understood her desire for a fresh start. She was upfront about it, and we agreed to part ways amicably. I wasn't heartbroken. Our relationship had always been on shaky ground. We settled into a co-parenting routine smoothly. We split custody evenly, kept our talks focused on the kids, and prioritized their happiness. Since we shared time and expenses equally, child support wasn't necessary. About 2 years later, Amara started dating her current husband. Not the first guy she dated post-split, but someone new. He had a daughter the same age as our twins. Amara introduced him and shared that their relationship was serious. I supported her efforts to create a stable home for the kids, so I was okay with it initially. It seemed fine at first. I assumed she just wanted to blend families harmoniously. But then she began suggesting I treat her stepdaughter as my own. I have no issue with the girl. She's just a kid caught in the situation. But Amara started pushing for me to include her stepdaughter in all my activities with the twins. I explained calmly that while I understood her goal of unity, I wasn't the stepfather here. I was already stretched thin being a great dad to my own kids. Still, she kept pressing the issue. Co-parenting was already challenging, and her expectations made it tougher. Over time, it started interfering with my time with my twins. Every outing or gift I planned sparked a debate about including her stepdaughter. I didn't mind inviting her occasionally, but it became an expectation. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I just didn't think it was fair to be pushed into a parental role for someone else's child. Things escalated when anything special I did for my twins, like gifts, caused tension if her stepdaughter wasn't treated identically. Once, Amara got upset because I didn't spend as much on a gift for her stepdaughter as I did for my twins. That was my limit. I decided to set firm boundaries and focus solely on my kids. I explained this to her, and she didn't take it well. She called me selfish, saying I wasn't supporting the whole family. But I hadn't agreed to this blended family vision she was pushing. I reiterated that my responsibility was to my twins. After that, our co-parenting shifted to more of a parallel parenting approach. We stuck to separate schedules and stopped blending households. This made things easier, allowing me to focus on my twins without constant demands. But Amara would still occasionally imply I was wrong for not parenting all the kids in her home. Her situation grew more complicated. She and her husband had a child together and later took in his nephew. Now her household included our twins, their stepsister, a cousin, and a half-sibling. She wanted to treat them as one unit, but I made it clear my role was limited to my twins. Then came the school trip issue. The twins attend a small school with mixed grade classes, so they're in the same class as their stepsister and cousin. It's an unusual setup, but it works. The trip was a big deal, an interactive museum experience with hands-on learning. My twins were thrilled, and I was happy to pay for it. But when I told Amara, her response caught me off guard. She asked why the other kids couldn't go too. I thought she was kidding, but she was serious. She argued it was unfair for only our twins to go if their stepsister and cousin couldn't. I reminded her my responsibility was to our kids, not her entire household. I suggested she and her husband could fund the other kids if they felt strongly about it. But she insisted it would emotionally harm the other kids and strain their bond with my twins. Her husband backed her up, saying I was splitting the family. I asked him directly, why is it my job to pay for kids who aren't mine? He acted like I was the bad guy for setting a boundary. They accused me of being heartless and causing emotional damage. I stood my ground, saying I just wanted to do something nice for my kids without being guilt-tripped. They wouldn't drop it. A few days later, Amara asked to meet in person. We met at a cafe, and I knew it wouldn't be a casual talk. She launched into a speech about how this wasn't just about a trip, it was about setting a precedent for fairness. She brought up future vacations, events, and family activities, suggesting I should contribute equally for all the kids in her home. Her situation grew more complicated. She and her husband had a child together, and later took in his nephew. Now her household included our twins, their stepsister, a cousin, and a half-sibling. She wanted to treat them as one unit, but I made it clear my role was limited to my twins. Then came the school trip issue. The twins attend a small school with mixed-grade classes, so they're in the same class as their stepsister and cousin. It's an unusual setup, but it works. The trip was a big deal, an interactive museum experience with hands-on learning. My twins were thrilled, and I was happy to pay for it. But when I told Amara, her response caught me off guard. She asked why the other kids couldn't go too. I thought she was kidding, but she was serious. She argued it was unfair for only our twins to go if their stepsister and cousin couldn't. I reminded her my responsibility was to our kids, not her entire household. I suggested she and her husband could fund the other kids if they felt strongly about it, but she insisted it would emotionally harm the other kids and strain their bond with my twins. Her husband backed her up, saying I was splitting the family. I asked him directly, "Why is it my job to pay for kids who aren't mine?" He acted like I was the bad guy for setting a boundary. They accused me of being heartless and causing emotional damage. I stood my ground, saying I just wanted to do something nice for my kids without being guilt-tripped. They wouldn't drop it. A few days later, Amara asked to meet in person. We met at a cafe, and I knew it wouldn't be a casual talk. She launched into a speech about how this wasn't just about a trip. It was about setting a precedent for fairness. She brought up future vacations, events, and family activities, suggesting I should contribute equally for all the kids in her home. I was floored. She was essentially asking me to bankroll her entire blended family. She leaned on the emotional angle, saying unequal treatment would breed resentment among the kids. I reminded her that only 2 of those kids were mine. She wasn't satisfied. She said if I truly cared, I'd support her whole family. Then her husband showed up, whether planned or not, and joined the conversation. He accused me of creating division and being unfair. I told him my duty starts and ends with my twins. He claimed if the kids grew distant, it'd be my fault. I pointed out that he only pushed this "we're all family" idea when it involved my money. Eventually, I'd had enough. I told them if they wanted equality, that was their responsibility, not mine. I left the cafe exhausted, but confident I'd done the right thing. The pressure didn't stop. Amara's family started contacting me. Her sister said I was ruining the kids' happiness. Her mother called, implying a real man takes care of the whole household, even if it's not his. I politely disagreed and ended the call. Her brother posted a snarky comment online about real dads. I deleted it and moved on. Even her husband confronted me during a drop-off, repeating his guilt trip. I reiterated that I'm responsible for my kids, not everyone else's. It was draining. I vented to friends who were shocked. One suggested Amara's family start a fundraiser if they cared so much. I realized reasoning with them was pointless. So I made a final decision to hold my ground. I talked to my twins, reassuring them the trip was just for them and they shouldn't feel guilty for enjoying it. They were excited, and that eased my stress. I called Amara and laid it out clearly but respectfully. I'd keep doing right by the twins, but I wasn't responsible for her household. She tried to guilt me again, but I shut it down, saying, "This is final." She responded coldly, trying to make me feel bad, but I didn't. The next few weeks were peaceful. No more messages or pressure, just calm. I spent quality time with the twins, and the trip was a huge success. Their happiness reminded me what mattered. Then, surprisingly, Amara called the next day. She didn't argue, but said, "We don't agree, but I respect that you held firm." It wasn't an apology, but it was progress. Since then, things have been smoother. We don't always agree, but we've found a workable rhythm. I've grown as a parent, no longer second-guessing my choices. Setting boundaries taught me that saying no to others sometimes means saying yes to your own peace. Weeks later, I thought it was over until Amara raised the twins' living conditions at her place. She said their home wasn't as comfortable and suggested I buy them a second house for when they're with her. Yes, really, she argued it would balance their standard of living and prevent them from feeling like they were moving between comfort and hardship. I asked if she was serious. She was. She claimed it was about the kids' self-worth. I told her firmly that if she wanted to upgrade her home, that was on her and her husband. She snapped back, warning that the twins might see my home as their only real one. I didn't respond. That ended the conversation. I love my twins and want the best for them, but I'm not funding someone else's lifestyle. And now, I've set my boundaries and won't budge. She pushed further after the house idea, so I took legal action to shut it down. I thought that would end it. What could possibly top asking for a house? But entitlement knows no limits. Things were calm for a couple of weeks. I was enjoying time with my twins, focusing on their schoolwork, weekend activities, and keeping things fun. The drama seemed to fade. But peace never lasts with someone who doesn't respect boundaries. One day, the twins' school called to verify a change to the emergency contact and pickup list. Apparently, Amara had submitted a form naming her husband as a legal guardian for the twins. with authority to make school decisions, pick them up, and attend parent meetings in my place. I was stunned. She hadn't discussed it with me. There was no agreement. Most importantly, her husband isn't their legal parent. I immediately told the school to reject the change. I made it clear that only Amara and I have legal authority over the twins. Then I contacted Amara. She acted innocent, saying it was just for convenience and wouldn't hurt to have her husband more involved. I told her firmly, "That's not happening. These are my kids." Her husband has no legal role in their lives, and decisions don't go through him. She got defensive, accusing me of shutting out her family and being unreasonable. But this wasn't about exclusion. It was about overreach, and it didn't stop there. A week later, I got an email from her lawyer. The subject line made my stomach drop. Petition to adjust financial responsibilities and household equity for children. The email was a list of demands. It wasn't child support. It was a claim that my financial status created an imbalance between the twins' two homes, harming their emotional health. She wanted me to contribute to a home upgrade, cover transportation for all her kids, and provide a monthly allowance for family blending needs. I was floored. She'd gone from misguided to manipulative. I contacted my lawyer immediately. We reviewed everything and decided to act. First, we filed a motion to formalize our custody and financial arrangements in court. We'd handled things informally before to avoid conflict, but now I needed legal protection. Second, we sent a cease and desist letter regarding her husband's guardianship attempt. He had no legal right to act for my kids, and we needed that documented. When the papers were served, I expected pushback, and I got it. Amara sent a long text about how I'd broken her trust, turned everything into a legal battle, and was hurting the kids' future by resisting unity. I didn't reply. Instead, I focused on the twins. I sat them down and explained in simple terms that parents sometimes disagree, but that they're loved and safe. They didn't need the drama, just reassurance. Court day was intense. Her lawyer tried to portray me as a distant, uncooperative dad who ignored the kids' broader family. My lawyer presented evidence, texts, emails, and records showing my dedication to the twins. We made it clear I wasn't responsible for kids who weren't mine. The judge saw through her claims. He ruled in my favor, formalizing our custody arrangement and stating my obligations were to my biological children only. Her request for household equity was denied outright. The guardianship attempt by her husband was also rejected, with a reminder that legal guardianship requires proper process. After the hearing, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't felt in years. For the first time, legal boundaries backed up the lines I'd been defending. Amara couldn't manipulate or guilt me anymore. It was freeing. Post-court, things quieted down. No more fairness speeches or messages from her family. The legal route showed I was serious. The best part? My twins seemed happier, less tense. The background stress was gone. They no longer felt caught in the middle. And me? I started sleeping better. My time with the twins became more joyful and meaningful. No more drama, just parenting. In the end, I learned that being a good parent sometimes means being the villain in someone else's narrative. It means standing firm against manipulation. It means going to court if needed to protect your kids, your sanity, and your resources. If anyone tries to make you feel like doing right by your children isn't enough, don't just defend your boundaries, enforce them legally. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like, share it, and follow for more real-life stories and heartfelt experiences. Your support means everything and helps bring more content like this to you. Thank you for reading, and I'll catch you in the next one.